Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. I have a topic that is going to be very expansive today if you apply it. We're going to talk about expanding your identity on purpose. Now, what is identity? You've heard about this a lot, I'm sure, if you've been in the personal development world for any amount of time, or if you've studied some manifestation, you've probably heard a lot about identity and why your identity matters. But let's break down what identity actually is before I dive into this topic. So your identity is the way that you see yourself. It's how you identify. It's your self-concept. It's the thoughts that you think about yourself. It's the way you feel about yourself. It is what is running in the background mentally, what kind of self-talk is running. It's the way that you think you are. Now, keyword think, not know you are, but think you are. Because the thing about identity is it is a combination of thoughts and beliefs about yourself. Oftentimes, you've had them for a very long time. When it comes to identity, right? These I am statements, this is who I am, this is how I am, this is what I do, this is how I've always been, right? So much of that was formed when you were a child. Again, I say this a lot about the core beliefs that we hold, but a lot of them have been kind of, I don't want to say solidified, but solidified in your brain. They aren't solid, but your brain thinks that it's who you are. Your brain thinks it's solid. So we'll say solidified before you were even 8 years old, which is before your conscious mind was even formed fully, right? And our conscious mind is the part of our mind that decides on purpose what we want to think. So a lot of our identity, we didn't even pick. It's kind of like maybe growing up, someone always told us we were messy. Someone always told us, oh, you're not good at math. Or let's say you failed a math test in 3rd grade. You decided, I am not good at math. I am not good with numbers. I'm not smart, right? There's so many things that we think about ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And so much of it we believe is just solid. We believe it's who we are. But the good news is it's not, because these are beliefs. These are thoughts. So the beautiful thing is we can start becoming aware of who we've been telling ourselves we are, and we can question it. We can decide on purpose. Now that we do have that adult brain, we do have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, we can decide if we want to hold on to that. Do I want to keep thinking I'm bad at that? Do I want to keep thinking I'm not smart? Do I want to keep thinking I'm clumsy, right? And for some of them, we're like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's not worth changing. Who cares? I don't mind holding on to it. But for some of these things that we tell ourselves and some of the identities that we hold, it truly limits us for what we know we're meant to do, who we know we're meant to be, and what we know we are meant to create in the world. And so a big part of manifesting your soul's desires and stepping into the highest version of yourself and that version of you you know you're meant to be, a big part of it is going to be questioning the identities you've been holding and being willing to question them and to change them, right? To upgrade your identity, to expand it. And that's what I want to talk about on this episode is the how do we actually do it? Because, you know, you've heard a lot about identity. I know if you're listening, I'm sure you've heard that word thrown around a lot. but I literally want to break down how you can do it. There's 4 main areas of your life that you can make shifts around, and you can start stepping into new practices around that will up level your identity and really help you shed any old identities that are no longer serving you, that are no longer aligned with who you know you are, who you know you're meant to be, and what you know you're meant to create. So let's dive into it. What are these 4 different things that shape our identity? So I'm going to run through it really quick, and then we're going to break it down, and I'll give you guys some examples. So the 4 things that shape our identity are going to be, like I said, our words, our belief systems, what we tell ourselves we are, the I am statements, right? Anything, one of my favorite sayings is, what comes after I am determines your destiny. Right? So what you say you are, you will be, simply because repetition creates your reality. So if you keep saying, I'm not good at business, I'm not good at selling, I'm not good at being on camera, I hate being on camera, right? All of these things, right? Or I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not willing to. I'm not someone who takes action. I'm a procrastinator. The more you say it, the more it's just going to become true, because your subconscious says, yes, that's who we are. And then that's who you act as. So your words shape your identity in a huge way. And we're going to break that down in a bit. The second one is how you actually carry yourself physically, right? So this is everything from your posture to your energy, to your presence, your confidence, to the clothing that you wear, right? How do you actually carry yourself? Because that is how your body feels your identity, right? Think about it like this. When you are in a nice, we'll say a posture that's not slumped over, you're sitting up nicely, you feel more confident, right? This is why in meditation, if you've ever studied meditation, posture is huge. It's like a big part of the foundations is getting your posture right, right? That's why you see a lot of people sitting in the lotus position. They always say, sit up straight, sit up with your back up. Posture is everything, because you literally connect that posture to a meditative state. You're not going to get in that state in a slumped over position. So posture is huge. And you can use posture and how you carry yourself around your identity. And we'll break that down too. But that's the second piece, is how you carry yourself. The third thing that shapes your identity is going to be what you're surrounded by. So it's going to be your environment. It's where you actually are, the people that you place yourself around, the things that you place yourself around, what you consume, what you normalize, what your environment is like, very much shapes your identity. So that's the third one. The fourth one is going to be where you actually take your attention, what you focus on. You might have heard the saying, what you focus on grows, and that is very true. So the question is, do you focus on the good? Do you focus on celebrations? Do you focus on the wins? Do you focus on what's right? Do you focus on solutions? Or do you focus on fear, problems, what's not right, what's, what the fears are, what you need to worry about, what could go wrong? All of this impacts how you identify yourself and the identity that you hold. And I wanted to break this down because I actually taught this in my mastermind, the Becoming a Millionaire Mastermind, which is a mastermind that I'm co-hosting with Julia Carlson. And the intention of that mastermind is to help the women in there step into a millionaire identity. So they may or may not have $1 million physically, but their work is to step into the millionaire identity, and then the results follow the identity, right? So often we get it wrong and we think we need to have the results. I need the $1 million in order to believe that I'm a millionaire, or in order to carry myself as a millionaire, or to think of myself as being able to have $1 million. No, the opposite is the way that we manifest. We step into the identity first, and then the results follow. And I can tell you, I have done this for every income level I have stepped into, right? Starting at my first 100K. This was a huge practice for me, was doing this identity work and doing it with these 4 different things that shape the identity. I literally spent a year practicing stepping into the new identity before I had it. I did not have a $100,000 business. In fact, when I first started this work, I was barely making anything. I don't even think I was making $500 a month in business, right? And to get up to like 8K or, a little over 8K to make it a 6-figure business, that was a stretch. But I just decided I'm going to bring my thoughts and my consciousness and my identity there first. I'm going to connect with that future version of me who is a $100,000 coach and a $100,000 CEO and has a $100,000 business, and I'm going to become her, right? So I practice these things. I'm going to tell you how I kind of walk through it. I also did it again at the $1 million level. I became a millionaire before I was a millionaire. That's how I became a millionaire. And I've done it for other things as well. It's not just money, right? And monetary success or, being a CEO or something around business. I'm referring to that because that's what this podcast is around. But you can really do it for anything. I've also done it for more joy and balance in my life, like wanting to be a more joyful, balanced version of me. I've done it around fitness and strength and wanting to be strong and healthy and actually being an athlete, right? Like growing up, I was overweight. I basically hated every sport there was. I hated running. I had PE class was my worst class ever. I would try to cheat my way out of it. I hated running the mile, all that stuff. I would not have identified as an athlete in any way, shape, or form. The only sport that I liked was swimming because I was in the water and I don't know, I'm a mermaid, right? But I did not see myself as an athlete. Well, guess what? I used these 4 different things to become an athlete, to become someone who's strong, healthy, fit, who really cares about my health. I'm someone now who consistently strength trains, consistently takes good care of my body, consistently moves, consistently naturally eats healthy because it's what I want. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't do any drugs. I have stepped into the identity of radiantly healthy by using these 4 practices, right? So you can do this with a number of things. So before I kind of dive into the intricacies of each of these 4 steps that shape the identity, or these 4 different things that shape the identity, I want to encourage you to pinpoint an area of your life where you're ready to expand. Right? Where are you ready to expand? What do you want to let go of? What's an old limiting identity that you sense is just creating unnecessary struggle for you anymore? And the reason it feels like such a maybe struggle or it feels like old is just because you've been fighting it for many years and you've been maybe trying to expand your identity, but doing it through willpower or doing it in a way that isn't long-term, that isn't sustainable, right? Or maybe you're thinking, gosh, this isn't an identity that I struggle with, but I want to become a 7-figure CEO as well. Or I want to become an 8-figure CEO, or I want to become, someone who sees myself as radiantly healthy and naturally fit and strong too, right? Whatever it is, you get to pick, but I want you to identify it so that as I'm walking through these things, you can think about it for yourself and really implement these strategies because my friend, they will work. They do work. And what's fun is so much of our identity and the identities that we've taken on, and I know you've taken on new ones all throughout your life, right? Maybe you became a parent. Maybe you became a business owner. Maybe you became, I don't know, whatever, right? Whatever identity you've stepped into, you might not have done it on purpose. But what's fun is that with this, you get to do it on purpose. You get to choose the identity that you want and you get to practice it. Okay, so now that you've identified which one that is, let's go through these 4 different things. Your words. This is huge. Your I am statements. So with this new identity that you're stepping into, I want to ask you, what are the sentences that you say to yourself, maybe on a regular basis or in the back of your mind, that are not aligned with it? What do you tell yourself, right? What are the I am statements, or how do you see yourself in a way that you're like, I didn't even realize maybe that was a thought? Okay, so I'm going to give you an example that I had that I really had to let go of in order to step into the life that I have. It was this belief that I had that I wasn't smart. And that's because I struggled in school. I couldn't get good scores on tests. I couldn't read fast. I had dyslexia. I thought I wasn't smart. So whenever it came to business and looking at numbers and wanting to set big goals, I thought, well, I'm not smart enough for that. That's for smart people. But once I realized the power of our words and the power of our thoughts, I realized that was a sentence I was saying is that I'm not smart. I thought it was just who I was, but I realized, no, that's a sentence I tell myself. That's a belief system I hold. And luckily, I have a beautiful, wonderful husband who does not let me limit myself very often. So a lot of times he'll call me out. And I remember whenever I told him that one time early in our relationship, and he was like, what are you talking about? You're one of the smartest, most intuitive people I've ever met. He's like, you're defining smart by one thing that is so limiting. He's like, you are so wise and brilliant. I'm like, wait, what? Like, tell me more. But he helped me see that it was like an identity that I was holding that isn't accurate. So I want to ask you that. Who do you think you are that's holding you back? Are you ready to let that go? Are you ready to stop telling yourself that? And let's expand it. How do you want to start talking to yourself? What do you want to start telling yourself each day? When you look into the mirror, what do you want to tell yourself? How do you want to talk into your own eyes, right? What do you want to think? You got to start asking yourself these questions. And this is really great journaling prompts. What do I actually want to think? How does the version of me at that next level identity think? Get that down. It's going to be so powerful. The next one is how you carry yourself, right? So when thinking about this new identity that you're expanding into, I want you to think about that future self who's already there. Who is it? And I say future self, but like time is relative. So you can step into it right now. But I think the way that our brains work, it's helpful to look at it as, oh, the future self, the one that I'm stepping into, right? And it's almost seeing it in the future, but you can start practicing that version of you now, right? So how does that version of you breathe? Right? Maybe you're working on normalizing bigger numbers. Maybe you're working on feeling comfortable looking at your bank account. Maybe you are getting more comfortable on sales calls. How does that version of you breathe when you're in that space, right? When you're on that consult call? How does that version of you breathe whenever you are looking at your numbers? Maybe you're working on visibility and the next version of you is becoming more visible, posting more often. Maybe it's getting yourself, online and sharing in a bigger way. How do you breathe as you're posting, right? Start practicing that. What's your posture like? What's your facial expressions like? What's your presence like? What's the energy that you step into? Practice that. You can do it now. It's so big. It's kind of like I was saying about even with meditation, how posture is so big. It's one of the foundational pieces of meditation. And I remember when my husband started learning meditation, he couldn't sit in a lotus position. It would hurt his back. And he also couldn't sit up straight. So literally for I think it was a month, 2 months straight, he was like, well, I can't really go to a meditation retreat because you have to sit like that. He's like, I got to practice getting my back strong. So he would sit up against the wall and then he would come back. And so that he wasn't leaning on the wall for the last 5 minutes of the meditation. And then he would work his way up to 7, right? Because he wanted to get the posture right. He knew that that's the position you sit in when you're at a meditation retreat. And he had to strengthen that posture. Right? And then now when he gets in that posture, he instantly drops in. His body knows it's time to go meditate. His body knows where it's going. So I want you to think about this with the identity that you're stepping into. What is the posture of that? How do you hold yourself? How do you carry yourself? Right? So breathing, how you hold yourself, what you dress in. And again, I'm not saying you have to be someone that you're not, because I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking like, oh gosh, now I have to dress like a businesswoman and get these clothes that I feel really uncomfortable in and, that kind of thing. And that's not true. It's not true. What is the version of you wear, right? The most you, right? The version of you that feels comfortable, that feels like yourself, but also feels confident and feels like that next identity. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to wear something that someone else who's in that identity looks like, but it's like, what is the version for you? And it might not be any different, but these are all just different offerings and different practices that you can step into for this next version of you. The third one, environment that we talked about, right? So think about it like this. That version of you that you're stepping into, what do they consume? What do they consume? Let's think about what do they consume in terms of what they're watching, what they're listening to, what they're putting in their body, what they're drinking. What do they consume? What are the adjustments that you need to make to be that highest next evolution of yourself? How can you shift those now? 1%. You don't have to do it overnight, but simply thinking about how can I make even a 1 to 10% shift right now to get closer to that version of me. Environment is also who you surround yourself with. So are there people that maybe you're people pleasing and saying yes to, but really they deplete your energy? And you realize they're just takers. They're not giving you anything back. There's not an equal exchange. It might be time to let go of those people in your life or to set some boundaries that do allow you to be in your highest self. Or if they're like family members and you're like, you know what, they don't have the best energy, but I'm going to manage my mind around that. But I do need to fill that cup in other ways. So maybe that means it's time to go put yourself in environments of people who do reflect the same values as you, who are in that next evolution, right? This is why I love masterminds and I host masterminds and I hope group coaching calls, is because it's a space where people can intentionally put themselves in to have an environment of people who get it, who are on the same level, who are on the same page, who are going for the same things, who are supportive, who are like, yes, let's do it, who aren't trying to tear them down, who aren't trying to bring them down to their past identities. They are like, no, I see you in your highest self. Let's go together. It's powerful. This is why so many very successful, wealthy people, they surround themselves with that, because vibration matters, right? So definitely think about your environment and what you want to normalize, what you want to go around, right? And it may even be just like cleaning up your house. That's something that I have been practicing this year big time, because I'm not going to lie, I used to be kind of like, not like super messy, but let's say it wouldn't feel very zen. I would have clutter here and there. I wouldn't make my bed. I just kind of, it was a little bit of like, I knew where everything, organized chaos, I would say, right? And me and Josh, we used to both say, well, we're creatives. And Josh would always say, well, Einstein was messy and he was a genius. I'm like, Josh, we need to stop telling ourselves that. That is like a limiting belief that is totally, sure, it might have worked for him, but like, that's not the version of us we want to be. So like, let's stop saying that and let's make our environment feel zen and clean and like expanded and bright, and cheerful, because it really makes a difference. And you can feel it when you go into environments that feel really good. You feel expanded. So definitely adjust your environment to like match the identity that you want to step into. And then last but not least is where you take your attention. So what you're focused on. Right? And one of my favorite books, I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. It's called The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. And what I love about this book is that it's an entire book on why it is so important to focus on the gain, not the gap, right? So meaning focusing on gratitude, focusing on the wins, focusing on how far you've come, not how much further you have to go, right? Focus on the growth that you've experienced. Focus on what's good. Focus on the blessings, not the obstacles, right? When you focus on what's wrong or when you focus on what could go wrong, that dictates your identity, right? And it's going to dictate how you feel. So it's really important to practice intentionally focusing. And in all the programs that I have, whether it's my group coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement, or my mastermind, the Becoming a Millionaire Mastermind, we all practice celebration, wins, and gratitude every single Friday. And I help them train themselves to look for it. At least once a week, look at what the wins, gratitude, and celebrations are, right? And no matter what, if you start looking for them, you'll find them. And the wild thing is, right, and this is just law of attraction in action, is that when you focus on those things, you will start having more of them. Literally, you will, the more you celebrate, the more things to celebrate will be attracted into your life. So that's law of attraction right there. That's manifestation right there. But your focus trains your identity. So start focusing on purpose, on what could go right. I have this other practice where it's about having this unwavering belief in a positive outcome. And it's a practice of seeing, even in the midst of so many challenges or so many obstacles, or maybe things not going the way that my brain wanted them to go, I decide on purpose, there's going to be a good outcome. I don't know what it is. It's not all making sense right now, but I have this unwavering belief in a positive outcome. And that's so powerful. It's so powerful. And it's something I have to train my brain and practice often. In fact, I got the practice from one of my favorite people to watch, which if you've listened to this podcast deep enough, if you've gone back far enough, you know that I love, love, love watching people who overcome amazing things. I love watching people who basically the Olympics or people who are doing things that just seem impossible, right? Maybe it's a mountain climber. One of my favorites is Alex Honnold, who is a free solo climber. So while it makes me so anxious watching these things, and I think, what, you are out of your mind, dude. But the mental training that this guy has to have, because he climbs mountains, buildings, he climbed El Capitan in Yosemite, a straight up massive slab of wall, huge, without a rope. This guy is, I'm not just going to say it, nuts, but he has trained his mental capacity and himself in such an amazing, amazing way. And this is what I learned from him is he has an unwavering belief in a positive outcome. That's how he does it. That's how he achieves it. I listened to it on a podcast and someone was saying that is what is so inspiring about him. People who have climbed with him have said he just has this unwavering belief in a positive outcome. And that stuck with me. And so it's a practice for me. But that is that's an example of where you take your attention. Can you see, no matter what, this is going to be a positive outcome? I believe in a positive outcome, even whenever it looks like things are going terrible, right? Maybe it's mid-launch, it's super messy, or it's almost to the end of the launch and you have no one in there. Can you have an unwavering belief in a positive outcome, right? Or maybe it's, you have not hit your goal this year. Can you have an unwavering belief in a positive outcome? In your business, maybe things get rocky. Can you have an unwavering belief in a positive outcome? See, this is such a practice. So where you take your attention matters. So again, these are 4 different things that shape your identity: your words, how you carry yourself, your environment, and where you take your attention. So I want to encourage you to practice. Pick 1, pick 2, pick all of them if you want. Practice. That is how you are going to become that next version of yourself. And I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to hear how it goes. Come connect with me. Let me know. And if you feel so inclined, I would love it if you would leave me a podcast review. I haven't asked for one in a minute, but they light me up like never before. So if you would be so kind to do that, I would love that. You can tell me how you like the episode, and I can't wait to hear about how this impacts you. All right, my friend, I'll talk to you next week. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.